Hello everybody, so this video is entitled MSTR's Best Week Ever, and of course I'm talking about MSTR and Stretch as a combination, and I am talking about how they're doing under the hood. I am not concerned about the stock price. To me, this is a very long-term investment. The stock price, sure, we're up 2.5% over 5 days. Bitcoin itself is up 3.5%. The stock price movement is nothing to write home about, but the under the hood performance has everything to be celebrated. It's absolutely amazing. So before we get into Stretch, I just want to point out, technically, strategy is roughly 1.5 times Bitcoin, Here we're underperforming IBIT. Since we're underperforming IBIT, that delta, that difference, I consider it to be common ATM issuance. And I tend to, in general, assume now, for the past few weeks, that the strategy ATM is about three times the Stretch ATM. And sure enough, early in the week, there was tremendous excitement for strategy, which kind of leads me to believe that he probably ATM'd a lot early in the week. But this is the key part of this video now, is where I want to talk especially about the special performance of STRC, of Stretch, because yes, Stretch had its best week ever. Here you have Stretch.live estimating that Stretch actually raised 11,000 Bitcoin. Think about that number, 11,000 Bitcoin. That's nearly 800 million. But the most stunning part about this is that $800 million raised to buy Bitcoin, 11,000 of them, was only over a 4-day period. Only over a 4-day period, because on Friday there was no ATM whatsoever because the stock went ex-dividend. 4 days, 200 million a day. You may remember a few months ago I was telling in my videos I wouldn't be surprised if we reached between 300 and 500 million a day. Well, we're at 200 mil a day right now. So this is really taking the credit world, the bond world by storm. We are sucking out some real liquidity out of the bond market, as a lot of investors, apparently more and more investors, are seeing Stretch as somewhat of a well-paid alternative to quote-unquote bonds, safe bonds or bond funds. Who, by the way, have been quite volatile lately, and I've not held their role in a 40-60 portfolio, a traditional portfolio. They haven't really done really well. Bonds haven't really done really well, especially for that low return that they got, that risk-free rate, or what Saylor calls the return-free risk, which I entirely agree. Ex-dividend, briefly, want to talk about the fact that really, if you take, we're near 12%, take 12%. Divided by 12, what do you get, right? You should get a stock that's about a dollar down, right? Roughly is what you should get. So maybe, of course, people buy it back in. My guess is that we shouldn't be at 99.75 or 99.70 right now. We should be probably at 99.10. If this was any other ex-dividend day where you have about 1% that's about to be paid out, that should be shaven off the stock, we should be about at $99.10. We're not. We're at $99.75, which tells me we nearly recovered. We nearly recovered in a day, in a trading day, and in a trading day where really the macro backdrop was awful and continues to be awful. And of course, this quick recovery is likely explained by the amazing, what I'm going to call epically bullish news, epically bullish week that we've had for Stretch. Just to name a few, without screenshot, I covered a few of these with this week, but just to name a few, we've had new ads tweeted by Saylor. We've had a lot of podcasts, including people from retirement folks. We've had Chaitanya Jain doing 2 podcasts, right? We've had a lot of buzz, a lot of organic talk for Stretch this week. That's a win. We had the highest volume day ever for Stretch. That's another win. We had news of other Bitcoin treasury companies adding Stretch, namely Strive and Orange BTC, both added Stretch. We had for Stretch the 8K amendment that was 2 days ago, saying that Stretch amends the 8K to now be able to ATM after hours. So we're going to have some ATMing after hours on Stretch. And of course, if you follow Stretch, you've noticed that it has tended to go way up before market and after market hours. This is going to help Sailor ATMing. We have APYX, who is only increasing value locked. There's no decrease in the APYX stable coin. There is no decrease. It's only increasing. Only weeks of inflows into that stable coin event by Stretch. Now 255,000 Stretch shares are owned by the APYX protocol. This is also taking the outside the US, the OUS world by storm through that stablecoin of people who want to access Stretch outside of the US market. And all of these successes, by the way, were made under horrible macro backdrop. There's no other way to say it, right? The latest FUD of yesterday and the day before is and again, that doesn't interest me. Politics doesn't interest me. But there seems to be some sort of a feud going on in the Senate where somebody is trying to not get the new Fed chair, the dovish Kevin Warsh, which I've covered before on the channel. There's somebody in the Senate that's trying to delay the process, and some people are saying, well, wait a minute, we may be stuck with Powell perhaps until 2027 or until the midterms, so there could be a delay in the new Fed chair, which would mean, of course, no rate cuts, right? Because the current Fed chair is not going to give you any rate cuts. So that was, to me, the more worrying FUD in the market. A tremendous FUD. Stretch is doing so well. MSTR is doing so well, and we have tremendous fun. Inflation was bad. Oil through the roof, right? Sending fears into the inflation numbers and what they're going to look like. Price of a gallon in the US, something like $3.8 a gallon or something like that. We were wanting 2, right? Politicians wanted a 2 before the midterm. You're not getting that. People are upset about the gas prices. So oil through the roof, inflation through the roof. The Fed chair nomination may be delayed. Now we have the S&P, who's looking an awful lot bearish now. 3rd week in a row for S&P down. Now, of course, I'm not surprised about that. On this channel, I don't like the S&P, but we're back to November 2025 level. The Max 7, I like the Max 7. The Max 7 is in a 10% correction since the beginning of his Middle East tensions, and we have rates going up. So the 10 years going up. People are buying government bonds. Mortgages are back to nearly the all-time high in a year. We erased all of the gains we had done on the mortgage rates for 30 years. We erased those in a matter of 2 weeks. So we have a pretty darn bad macro backdrop, and we have Strategy who posts this epic performance, if you ask me. We have Stretch, who has positive news like you wouldn't believe, highest volume, highest raise, and we have Bitcoin, who is now at a 30 on fear and greed. I've been reporting this every other day. We're at a 30. We are going to be in neutral territory next week if we continue bouncing back on the fear and greed index. So Bitcoin is doing well, MSTR is doing well, Stretch is doing well. The market is slowly shifting the sentiment that it has about these assets and treating them a little bit as risk off. And so this is, of course, extremely bullish, and I'm very happy to see that. And we'll see how that goes Monday, but it looks like this weekend is filled with more and more volatility, with kind of the worst news happens on the weekends outside of market hours. We'll see Monday how volatile of a day we get, but for now, Strategy has definitely been performing much better than many of us would have thought given the macro backdrop, right? Bitcoin, Strategy, BTCs, they're supposed to be the first to drop. Well, that's not happening right now, and so that's a celebration under the hood. Even though the price of Strategy itself hasn't changed that much, under the hood we see tremendous performance. Bitcoin per share is increasing. Anyways, this was not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is only entertainment. I'm hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.